or expect somebody else to react the way you would
All
react.
right. Welcome to the 3200 podcast, man. We've got a good show for you today. Uh, we are talking about black and blue is the title, man. We're talking about what it's like to be a cop and black, and then also the relationship between cops and the community. So we want you to join in with the show. We'll be right back in a second here.
Hey, the 3200, you know how we connect. 3200 Magnolia was the address. Beaumont, Texas, had to do it like that. Wanna welcome everybody to the podcast. Plenty stories that we gotta explore. From the views of husbands, fathers, entrepreneurs, baby fathers and workers. I know this though for certain. You gon' laugh, have a good time till your side hurting. 3200, but you already know this. You know it. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Let's go. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 3200, let's go. 3200, but you already know this. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 3200, let's go. Hey, yeah, make sure that you turn it up. Get the talking, ain't no topic that we do not discuss. Yeah, everything and nothing at the same time. Good vibes, tune in, cause you know it's going down. 3200.
All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Like I said, we got a great show today, great topic today. We want you to chime in. Before you chime in the comments, though, we need you to go ahead, smash that like, share, and subscribe button, man. We need more people coming with you. Share our content. Be a part of it. This is not just our show. This is our show. So all our cousins watching, we want you to join in with the conversation. Go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, and share button right now. Today we got special guests with us, man. We got cousin Charlie here. We'll have him introduce himself, but we also got KD's in the house today. Say what's up, KD.
What it do? What it do?
Yeah, Leo's here today. Oh, and we got little brother Bad Boys in the house there.
What you gonna do when they come for you?
All right, so welcome to the show. Like today we're talking all about black and blue, man. We want to talk everything with police and everything, man. Like I said, we got our special guest there, our cousin. What I like about our cousin here, cousin Charlie, is he's always going to be honest, whether it's the good, the bad, whatever. He's going to tell you the honest truth, and he's just going to keep it real. He's going to keep it real, and that's why I respect him. I'll let you introduce yourself. Go ahead there, cousin Charlie.
Hello, everybody. My name is Charlie Porter. My knucklehead cousins, all four of them. I'm born and raised in Beaumont here, and I've been in police work going on 35 years now. I'm on today. I support these cats. They're real positive, and I want to be there for them.
All right. Appreciate that, cousin Charlie. I just want to put a little disclaimer out there. Everything that is said today are personal views and does not represent any other department that Charlie may work for, has worked for in the past. There are his personal opinions. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. So. And you're the cousin there, Charlie. So you family. So I was telling Leo's like, man, we need to give him some warm-up questions. Like, we don't need no warm-up questions for Charlie. Man. This is our cousin. We've been doing it. Well, I've been doing it for 39 years, So we jump right into it with him, man. We jump right off the diving board in the deep end with him. We don't have to jump in the shallow end. My first question is, we had the shooting June 27, Jayland Walker, rest in peace there, in Akron. And we've had multiple shootings throughout the years. I would say we had multiple shootings highlighted in the last few years. And there's always been shootings of black men and unarmed black men. As being a black officer, when you see these things and you see these on TV, being a black officer and being a black father to a black son, when you see these things, how do you feel?
Honestly, it's a little disheartening. you're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. For me, I've always tried to handle it as one. I'm gonna do my job, wherever my job calls me to do it. I don't like being identified as a black officer. I'm a black man that happens to be a police officer. And when I'm at work, I'm a police officer. There is no color. But unfortunately, society today likes to categorize everything. I have two boys, 39 and 23. And I've been in this field of work for 35 years. And I have had to sit and talk to them about just life, just being real with them. It doesn't matter that daddy's the police, because there are going to be times when you run across people that, for whatever reason, decide that they're going to treat you a certain kind of way. Had that discussion with them on explaining how they're supposed to act, how to respond. Always keep a cool head. In the community, I try to carry myself in a way where I hope they see me working in the uniform and look past my color.
All right, that's cool. KD, you had a question?
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring up some statistics later on how many African Americans have been shot. So before I ask my cousin the question, just looking at 2021, so you have 177 Black people were shot to death by the police versus 302. And Black people only make up 12.4% of America. So it's, Blacks versus whites, it's, more than half that are getting shot by the police, and we only make up a small percentage of America. My question to my cousin is, so with the amount of police officers that are out there, why don't we hear a lot about Black officers shooting someone to death? Or why, we hear a lot about people being shot to death by police, which is very unfortunate. But why don't you hear a lot of it? I mean, you hear it, but why isn't it so much by Black police officers, in your opinion?
Well, keeping it real, I'm going to do that. One, there are Black officers that have shot some Black individuals, but that doesn't get headlines like when they put the race in it. A black officer shoots a Black suspect. That's not going to get the headlines like if a Black police officer shot an unarmed white person, or when a white police officer is in a situation and ends up shooting an unarmed Black person. I mean, being real, the media sensationalizes a lot.
So, we know it exists. We know the headlines are like they are. Do you think that there is a different approach that some officers take versus, and not even based on their skill level, but is there a different approach from a Black officer and a white officer going into a Black neighborhood?
Depends on, okay, you said going into a Black neighborhood.
Yeah.
Most definitely, because where do we come from? The Black neighborhood.
Right.
I was born and raised in the north end of Beaumont. So when I answer a call in the north end of Beaumont, one, I know quite a few people there. I know how those people are going to respond. I know how to approach them. You take a rookie white officer who has never been in that area, he's going to be a little antsy. He's going to be a little nervous. He doesn't know that if he sees two guys standing there talking, throwing their hands up, talking loud, that's just how we are in our environment. But he didn't think it, hey, those guys are arguing or something. It's, the situation depends on the circumstances. But the big thing is communication and knowing the people where you work. We need to, knowing the cultures that we service.
So what is it? So I grew up in the North End too. I mean, we talking about Magnolia, which where everything was like real thick.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell like some of these young black men that's still in the hood, still in the thick of things, that, if a police are like, they ain't did nothing, what would you tell them to assist with them not ending up in a terrible situation?
Get in the mindset of surviving that encounter. And when I say that, let's say, you got a couple of cats hanging out in the corner, the police pull up. If you think whether you're doing something wrong or not, if you let's just say you think, well, this guy is racist, your perception of him being racist, it makes no sense to get in an argument or to become confrontational with that subject, with that officer, because one, you're not going to win that fight right there. Your whole attitude needs to be live to see another day. If you think an officer's treating you wrong, there's a process for handling that. You got to put your pride down, and think about surviving to the next day.
I got a little follow up on that. I know I used to know the number off the top of my head. I think Beaumont Police Department. I think we're at I think only like 68% of the police or something like that. The numbers might be 83. 83 keep popping up in my head, but only about 83% of police are actually from Beaumont, and then or live in Beaumont. I think a lot of them live outside of Beaumont, Lumberton, Vidor, wherever it may be. And then most police department, our police department, majority of them are white and not unfamiliar with the area, like Derek was alluding to a minute ago. I know, like I said, I've talking with you, and I've talking with I talked with the chief before, and I know Chief has had a hard time trying to get minorities to apply for the job, even to jump in the job or get local jobs. So I understand that piece. He has no control of that. But I'd like you to share, because I know the Sheriff's Department has ideas and plans that they're doing. I think BPD is still working on some of their things. Can you kind of explain, like, what are y'all doing to, like he was saying, they're not in the community or whatever. What are y'all doing to get into the community?
Well,
out to the community.
The Sheriff's Department, since I've been there, always been or had a program where they wanted to be engaged in the community, as far as making neighborhood association meetings. Just when Sheriff Stevens took over in 2017, she implemented it where patrol officers had to go out with white cards and get some names. That meant they had to get out of the car and talk to some people. That way you get to know the people in the area you work in, the people get to know you. She's been real big on being community oriented, and as far as making our department diverse, looking like the community that it serves.
And she's the sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big thing right there. Big. My question is, as you know, when I was in the Air Force, I deployed a lot. So every time before I deploy, even if I went and just got back, and then 2 months later I was going to a desert or some type of combat situation, we'd always have to go through training. And you was in the Marines. So every year you have to qualify with your weapon and stuff like that. Do you feel like police officers are properly trained, or if that training is required, the type of training that they need to handle the situations that they are faced in?
I can speak on Texas because I know a lot more about Texas. Like you brought up firearms. The state of Texas, you're required to at least qualify with your weapon once a year. I know at the sheriff's department, we try to stress, hey, you get out to shoot as much as you want. We qualify once a year, and you have to be proficient in using your weapon. If you're not proficient, you have to go through remedial training. State of Texas requires officers to receive so many hours of training every year. I can't say I'm not versed on what other states require, but I do know that Texas we're probably more strict on making sure officers are trained than most other states.
Right on.
And that's the firearm. I think one thing that I kind of noticed talking with the sheriff is not just on firearm, but like I think they had a simulator down there to help them learn to deal with things. But the one thing that we asked, was, do Lumberton have the same thing? Does Orange have the same thing? The answer was no. Every department does not get equal training, and that's a concern to me. It's like that simulator, it's real nice simulator, but that would be nice if everybody was going through the same thing to help them, through situations that they go through. Is there anything that we can do about get equal training for all of the officers? I mean, I think that's part of the issue for me is, okay, if you being trained on, urban combat or whatever it is, and then they're not getting the same thing, but they got to go into a neighborhood just like the one you're going into, how do you expect to get the same results out of a cop that doesn't have that same training? You know what I mean?
I can tell you that at the sheriff's department, pretty much most of all our training is opened up to other departments. Now, and then that to be able to, those other departments have to have it in their budget to allow the guys to go, so it's a whole bunch of other factors behind whether or not those officers are get to attend our training. But at the sheriff's department, most of our training is open to other departments, and they receive, if they came to our training sessions, they would receive the same training that our officers get.
Yeah, because it goes to it's a dual-edged sword to me. So you have people want to defund the police department, but they want them to be trained as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? You can't do both at the same time. And like we had a FAT simulator in England, but we didn't have one in Shreveport. Whereas when we were about to deploy, it was a real nice simulator where we had weapons it was like it was real weapons. I mean, they had all these different scenarios, but you're not going to get that in every place you go to. And,
well, some of the smaller departments can't afford it. But again, like I said, we have that system. And most of the time, our training is open to any of the smaller departments around.
But what if it's the doctor? And Jonathan, I'm gonna get back on that defund police. I want you to get a little bit deeper in that. But like, let's say if it's your doctor, it's like, okay, like I can't expect a doctor go to the doctor's office in Lumberton or whatever and not get the same health. Okay, oh no, we're not able to get trained on CPR. We don't do CPR here. You know what I mean? They are all trained. All the doctors you have to go to school, you have to get training. So my thing is, why aren't police officers doing the same thing? Or why aren't they, I don't know, like the job I'm at right now is regulated by, we have our rules and then we got federal rules that we're regulated by the federal government on that. So why can't the police be regulated federally with their training? Like, hey, you have to be trained on this simulator at least once a year, or you have to do this. Because departments, like you said, departments can't afford it and they're not going to do it if they can't afford it. So why can't we have something in place to make these departments, hey, you got to at least go once a year and get this type of training for not just the shooting, but others, the simulation. I think that's important, and other training. Like
I said earlier, here in the state of TCO, our certifications and our licensure come through TCO, and all agencies within the state of Texas are held to a certain standard by TCO. There is some mandatory training, required training that every officer in the state of Texas has to do on a regular basis. And we all take that same training.
Yeah, because it's the same with security officers, but you see the similar effects happening, just like a girl just got killed at a strip club in Dallas. So we all have to go through the same training, but it depends on that person's, mentality at the end of the day,
Yeah, I want to go to defund the police there, and Jonathan, I think you were incorrect on some information that you were putting out there, and we can have a discussion with everybody on this there. But and I want to get your feelings on defund the police there, Charlie. But I don't think I think everything got kind of misinterpreted about the defund police with the political structure that was going on, the fight and bickering that was going on at the time. But the defund police isn't to take away all of the funding, to take away that training or take away even the weapons or stuff. But I think the point of the defunding was to take some responsibility away from the cops and add it to other departments. Like if you have a mental health case or you got other cases where police aren't responding to all of these calls, they have actual mental health professionals and they got other people responding to these calls to take some of that pressure off the calls where the cops can actually do other jobs. It's not necessarily
when that came out, it was why they chose that phrase, defund the police. But it was exactly what you said. It was to take some funding and allocate it towards like mental health issues or subjects with mental health problems. That in itself alleviated some of the calls that police, or the hope that it would alleviate some of the calls that police were being sent to, which someone being mentally ill or having a mental problem is not a police problem. It's a health problem. So they were talking about moving some funding to that area. Unfortunately, that got hijacked by the politics, and you see where we're at with it.
Yeah, something like that happened years ago because police kept getting calls with like people that were vandalizing, or what is it when people catch things on fire? All like vandalism,
arson.
So the fire department inherited arson investigations, and also the chiefs in I want to say the whole state of Texas, but I know in certain areas, NFPA and chiefs of fire departments, they're allowed to handle. They're allowed to have handguns now, and get more involved in arson investigations where the police didn't have to.
Police started, were being sent to these mental health calls as quick fix or a Band-Aid. Somebody's in a mental crisis. They can't get them to the hospital, so they're going to jail. Well, it's not illegal to be mentally ill. So they shouldn't be going to jail to begin with. They should be getting some medical treatment. But in my personal opinion, the police were being used as a scapegoat.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are, and this is just my take about the recent events. So I was watching the news, and this is not a question. This is just my feeling about the parade that happened in
Highland Park.
Yeah, in Highland Park,
Illinois.
That was in Illinois. So right now, statistically, Illinois has 46 people that have been killed in regards to a mass shooting. And Texas combined, I think there's, let me give you the numbers. Texas, Houston area has 16. That's just not just Houston, but that area. Dallas area has 12. And Lubbock area has 2. So it's 28, 20, 30 total. And Chicago has 46. The closest to Chicago is New York with 30. When I see stuff like that, I think about like Detroit when GM left and all this other stuff. Certain things are occurring that's allowing crime to run rampant. For an example, right now in Beaumont, I want to say Beaumont is ranked number 8 in homicides per capita in the state of Texas. And when I think about the big picture. What are people doing or not doing to stop that much violence? So I think about like jobs. If you're not working at a plant or a hospital, you probably working somewhere outside of Beaumont. So my personal view is, the cops, there are some bad cops, there are some good cops, but when we see crime rise, I don't think anybody's focusing on the bigger picture of what can be done to stop the crime. We embed the police, we get the police involved, we get the mayor involved, statement is made, just the same old song and dance. But there's nobody that's bringing commerce to these cities that's saying, hey, let's give these people jobs, because it's just a recycle. I don't want to give nobody a job in Beaumont because they're killing each other. They're going to bring this to my business. So that's just my take. And when I think about what happened in Chicago, the first thing I thought, he said, oh, he was a rapper. I was like, man, what did this black guy do? And come to find out, it was a troubled white kid that they got these underground black web groups that are just actually high bent on harming people with guns. So that's just my take. And I see officers did not kill him, but then I see other 8 officers kill somebody that was a day or two before that. So stuff like that, I'm like, is it training or is it officers that are just ready to pull their pistol because if they just been walking the beat so long and they ain't never shot their firearm, are they antsy about it?
Yeah. And Bloss, Charlie, there, I think that's a question that always get. I was the first one. Charlie, and that's a question that always get asked every time there's a mass shooting. I think from the community, that's the first question. Oh, he lived. Why cops didn't shoot him? Why cops didn't shoot him or he lived? Can you give us? I know you're not there. You're not at the situation, but is there an answer for that, or is there some type of reply to that answer? That's the first question. Every mass shooting, you always see, oh, they let him live. Oh, they gave him hamburgers. They gave him water. Why they shooting everybody else? How they let this guy just kill this person? They let him live. Is there something protocol? Is there something from your perspective that we're missing?
The answer to that question is no. I wish I could give you an answer on that. As a police officer, as a black police officer, yeah, that bothers me. I'm gonna be real with you. I wonder it too. I mean, I've been out there on the streets. I've been in situations where I could have shot somebody. I didn't.
So answer that question. Why didn't you?
Why didn't I? There's a couple. Plain and simple, I felt like I knew myself well enough to know that I could handle that situation without pulling the trigger. I've been doing this 35 years, and to this day, thank God, I've never had to pull my trigger. There's not a doubt in my mind that if I had to, I would. But for me, if I don't have to, I'm not going to. If I can get around this without using a weapon, that's what I'm going to do. That's my mindset.
So in the state of Texas, is it a requirement for police officers to go through psych eval?
Yes.
I know before they get hired,
yes.
And even after they're involved in a shooting, but how often does that psych eval occur?
Usually it's when you get hired or after a shooting, or if, in some cases, if a guy is in some activities or something that would make his superiors feel like he needed an eval.
got one question out from the audience, man, and we want to thank and welcome everybody up in the comments box and everybody watching right now.
What's up,
Go
Corey?
ahead,
What's
drop
up?
more questions. Got a question from Faith Love. She says, "There's nothing more deadly than an encounter with a squirrely, fearful officer. Any tips for routine stops?"
Yeah. Do what they're asking you to do, whether you think it's right or wrong. If they're stopping you for a traffic violation, you know you didn't run that stop sign or that red light, don't argue. You're not going to win that battle right there. Take the ticket and go to court and fight it. Let me put it this way. If you think a guy is being a butthole, or if you think an officer is a racist, do you think just because you're arguing with him right then and there is going to change him? You want to survive that encounter. Do what they're asking you to do so you can take care of that business and be on your way. Live to fight another day, and the proper way.
I don't know what officer told me. I want to follow up with that. I think it was Charlie told me, or somebody, it was an officer. And he said, man, if you ever stop, if it's in the evening or at night, go to a lit area. If you got a tinted car, bring your windows down, turn your dome lights on, and keep your hands in plain view. And I've done that 3 times. And all 3 times I've done that, I've never gotten a ticket, ever. All my windows go down, turn the dome lights on, I'm in a lit area, keep my hands in plain view, and I've never ever gotten a ticket. But now that I said that out loud,
Here's what the way I say it. It's real hard for an asshole to be an asshole if you're being super polite. Yes, sir. No, sir. Doing what they ask. It's real hard for an asshole to be an asshole if you're being super polite.
Man, I tell you how I avoid my ticket. Well, I'll tell you how I avoided one ticket. That cop did that U-turn in the middle of that median. I took that first exit and went hit out of the gas station.
Hit the corners.
I spent behind that gas station about 15 minutes, and then
Like,
Nah, but it's real though, because I mean, Leo, I don't know if you even know, but it was a lot of times when I was going back to Temple, it got so like frustrating, and I wouldn't be speeding or anything. It got to a point where I was in my Monte Carlo, and I have the windows down in summertime, driving because I knew somebody was gonna pull me over. So you know, every time I would go to Temple, I get pulled over, and I'm like, "What is it? I don't have rims on the car."
I can tell you exactly what it was, Jonathan.
What was
And
it?
let the world know, because the one time when I had to drive your car and I got pulled over, it was your tent.
Ah,
The officer was like, you know, usually we slash it, the tent or whatever that they usually do. I was like, well, sir, please do it. It ain't my car.
Nah, but look, they can't do nothing because I have Mississippi plates. There's no 10 law in Mississippi.
Hey,
Bingo.
your cousin there don't tell the cops you a cowboy fan, and I agree with him. That's why you got pulled over.
yeah, you just lost.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna beat you now. Shit. It's like the Cowboys get beat.
Yeah, we going to the championship this year. Leo, you had a question?
Yeah, I think my next question was, since you've worked the local force and the sheriff, I notice in dealing with them, it seems like there's a difference in the attitude between the sheriff and the local police. Sometimes it seems like the sheriffs are a little more relaxed. Is it because usually the sheriffs have more experience, or what's going on there?
No, that's just the attitude of our department. You know, everybody we deal with, we realize that everybody we deal with is not a criminal, and it's okay to treat people like people.
All right, I'm down with that. So I just got to make sure I get stopped by sheriffs and not.
Stay away from the DPS. They do not care about it. You go get your ticket regardless.
You know why I pulled you over? No, if I knew, I wouldn't have did it.
No, I wanted to ask a question. I don't know if you guys really looked at the footage or whatnot with the Jalen Walker situation, but I looked at the videos and it was like 13 different body cams. On those cams, I'm noticing, and I don't know what the crime is in Akron, but I'm noticing that you had actually 2 officers in some of the cars. So one officer is coming out with like an AR and the other one's with pistols. So I'm like, I don't know how, the crime is. Like I said, in Akron, I don't know. It could be pretty bad. We're just not hearing things. But the whole situation, how they said, the guy shot, or whatnot. But why? That's what I'm not understanding. Why are we popping out with ARs off the muscle? And it's just one car, and no one identified multiple individuals. No one identified over the radio. Hey, we taking, a hail of fire. I'm not sure if, some of those individuals did shoot their ARs. It looked like one did. But also I want to go back into the training as well, because you got 8 officers. So that's 2 fire teams in military terms.
John,
Let
let me cut you off right there with what you're asking.
Yeah.
I could care less what kind of gun somebody has. If they shoot at me, if I have an AR handy, that's what I'm grabbing. I don't want to get out of the car with a pistol and he's got a rifle. So now I'm fighting a rifle with a pistol, or I got to make my way back to my car. I'm getting out with the AR. If I have to use it, I have to use it. Those guys, like you said, don't know the particulars of it, but the report was that there was a shot fired from that individual's car. They didn't know what kind of gun he had. They just know a shot was fired. So yeah, if I have an AR handy, that's what I'm getting out of the car with.
All right, because I don't know, because we had different procedures. But
so let me ask you this, and would it make a difference to you what you got shot with? Okay.
Well, and then
the deal is you don't get shot.
Well, what I was leading to was the rate of fire. So you got 90 bullets shot at one individual. So why are we shooting 90 bullets at one individual? With 8 different cops. I mean, what authorizes that? It goes back to the guy in New York that got shot up the same way. Why are we? If the guy's on the ground going like this, why are we still shooting?
To neutralize the threat.
I don't ever want to say I'm going to second guess another officer, because I don't know how I react to it and how some other person reacts could be totally different. You don't know what they perceive to be a threat level, at what stage it was. So I don't want to get into saying, well, they shoulda, coulda, woulda. I wasn't there. I'd like to think that maybe if I was in that situation that I would handle it a little different, but I don't know.
And Jonathan, the resources that the military had versus police officers and city beat and county government, they have a lot different resources in the government than Beaumont or any police department. I mean, the whole goal for military is to get the best grade of weapon there is. Well, versus the budget for Leo, no.
No, that's actually opposite. We always the lowest bidder. The lowest bidder. In fact, even if you really look at the M16, which is now the M4, that's not like the best gun out there, but it is the most easily manufactured. A lot of the parts are interchangeable and stuff like that. I think what Jonathan was really trying to ask was the and what I gotta give to everybody and what everybody gotta understand is Jonathan was in the security forces in the Air Force. So when he looks at this, some of these things like this, he looks at it with the military police mind. And I understand it a lot because I worked in a lot of combat comms. So a lot of the training that Jonathan had, I had to do too, because I was going to places like Iraq and stuff like that, and substituting. Sometimes they would substitute us for security forces and stuff to go out there and do certain things. So when you're charging a target and stuff like that, there's certain procedures you gotta do. But I also understand on Charlie's side because a regular police cop, that's not some of that stuff that they get thrown into is not their lane. Some of the stuff, just because you're the first person at that scene, it might be a SWAT team that's needed, but you're the first one at that scene. So you gotta react and you gotta. So that's the thing. That's the difference, I think, Jonathan, between them and us is that we're all playing that SWAT level, I guess, hit the scene thing where their guys is like, might get thrown into something that they wasn't ready for. Like remember Charlie's, I think it was like back in the 80s when in California when that guy had like that AK or something like that, and he shot up like all those officers, and all they had was like pistols. They exactly had what y'all was talking about earlier. They had pistols, and he told them cops up before somebody, a team or whatever, finally came in that can handle them.
Hey, Leo, is there a different threat you think from, and I know the answer, but I just want to hear you and Jonathan comment. And also, cousin Charlie, there's a different threat domestically versus foreign, because I guess domestically you don't really know who the threat is until you arrive to the scene versus a foreign threat.
It's getting better to me for the officers, and I'm a calm guy, so they're starting to use technology the way that we used it in the military. We wouldn't charge a place or area before we had the proper intelligence. And a lot of times, like Charlie alluded to, they can't do the surveillance. We get drones in there. We watching you. By the time we go in there to hit you, we didn't watch you for a while. We got a lot of tape on it. We didn't see who came in and out and everything else, kind of like what those guys do for drug houses, except for we got now on that side of the house, the military does have better technology to handle that type of stuff. We're
answer KD question. I think MPs. I think we're forgetting that MPs do still handle some of the same calls that local they do handle domestic violence.
Yeah, we have a restricted area and we have law enforcement area. To go into what Kendare was talking about, DPD has drones as well.
Yeah, they're using it now. They're using it. I saw one program where they was using something that I know we was using in the military, where they was watching the trap houses. So they was using AI and simulators to see how much traffic was actually going in and out of this house. And it was like, that's how we know it's the house, because they're using a street cam to watch out the traffic and letting the computer just take all that data. And then like if Charlie was on something and he was like, I suspect this house, the street cam already got it. And it's like, yeah, it's this many people hitting at this time and stuff like that. So they're using more technology now. But we've been doing that for a while.
Charlie, I got a question for you. I always kind of wanted to know this there. As a black officer, I know you don't like to be called a black officer, but you black. But as a black officer, when you hear the phrase "Blue Lives Matter" and "Back to Blue," in not in the manner where we just had, you might have had a fallen officer or an officer get killed, not in that manner, but when it's going straight against, in the manner where it's going straight against Black Lives Matters, How do you how does that make you feel when you hear that, or what's your response, or what kind of feelings do you get on the inside when you hear that?
I don't like the phrase. I don't like it at all because it's divisive. Why do you have to distinguish which lives matter? All lives matter.
That's it.
So I'm on the fence with that. Yes, all lives matter. I totally agree. But I can't say that on the west end of Beaumont they're teaching their kids to be careful when their kids get pulled over by a police officer. I know for sure Jeff Schaffner, where I grew up with, he and I had a conversation. It's a white guy, same age as me. He and I had a conversation, and he said, "Man, my daddy ain't never told me to do this and do that when I get pulled over." Because I was telling him about a conversation my daddy told me about driving, in other neighborhoods or just when I get pulled over by officers. So those conversations, yes, all lives matter. And as a Christian man, yes, I am truly against any sin against anybody that is just doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing and just got caught up in bad circumstances. But at the rate that Black people are dying, we are twice as as the percentage, and we are only a small percentage of the United States. And so my son, I have to raise him not only to be smart in America, but to know how to be wise in the decisions. There's a whole bunch of different modules that we have to train our kids on how to react to policemen.
I agree with you. Maybe it might not be fair, but life isn't fair. But all those things you just stated, it's just something you got to do.
It's America.
They may not have to do it, but guess what? If you want yours to survive, you're going to do it. It's just something that you got to do. Life ain't fair. Should we have to have that conversation? I wish there would come a time when we didn't, but unfortunately, yeah, we do.
Crickets.
But I won't ever agree to say somebody else's life is more important than somebody else's.
I think it was just just because of the moment where all of this came out, and it just happened to be a political year. I think politics of it destroyed the movement in both ways. Because I do believe, hey, when innocent Black people are getting killed, hey, Black Lives Matter. But I also believe when innocent cops in I think in New Orleans and then in Baton Rouge and then the innocent cops in Dallas are getting shot, hey, at that moment of time, those cops' lives matter. But with all of the political points that came in with that year, and when these two movements was moving up, that put them directly against each other, like, oh, you got to be on this side or you got to be on this side.
That was by design.
Yeah. I think it messed it all up, and you still see it now. Usually you hear somebody and even seeing the flag, the blue stripe flag and stuff, like it sends, it's almost like seeing the Confederate flag sometimes, like, okay, this person is against me, and it might not be that way. It's just a weird thing for me.
For me, there are good cops, there are bad cops, just like there's
because it tells a certain part of the population that we thinking something else. We don't think about you the way we think about something else. That's my honest opinion of that. That for me to say I'm a public servant and I'm going to advertise or wear something that gives a certain part of the population a bad feeling, I shouldn't do that. What I ought to do is find out why it gives them a bad feeling and then make a correction.
I was gonna make the comment. There are good cops, there are bad cops. Just like there are Christians that do stupid things and Christians that don't do stupid things. Media does hype a lot of stuff up, but then there are certain things that make it through the court system, which she's supposed to be blind. Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. But how is it that a white kid that's not deputized can take an assault rifle into a hostile area, shoot and kill people, go through the judiciary system, and still be set free? And then there's individuals that are deputized or are going that go through the process of becoming sheriff's officers, and they give them a sentence. Like justice, there's so many different emotions with how things run, just in my opinion. That I'm not pro Black Lives Matter. I just think that justice serves better when you have rich pockets.
Yeah, but justice not driving the car. You got to look at who's driving the vehicle. You know, just like we all got jobs, rules at our jobs, and they tell us this is what's to keep you safe. But how many times you gonna see somebody not wear their gloves or they ain't wearing their glasses? They breaking the rules. So there's people making separate decisions. There's people who's abusing the systems that are in place to keep us safe, and we can't blame. We can't blame it all on justice. Some of it is individuals that are doing their thing. Leo, you got a question?
Yeah, I got this got to be one of the last questions. With like I say, with me and technology, cameras, vehicles, and body cams. From your perspective and from some of the people you talk to, or whatever I work with, is the camera thing more of a light thing? Do they feel like it's more protection for you guys, or do y'all just feel like it's kind of holding y'all down, or another way for, I don't know, people to be in y'all business or anything else like that? Do you feel like they're good or bad for police officers?
Oh, they're great. They're great. When they first came out, officers didn't like them. But as time has gone on, they're great because you say there's no doubt, but they help officers a lot more than they hurt officers. And if you're doing your job the correct way, like you're supposed to, you could care less what that camera sees. It's only if you're out there doing something you got no business is when you're concerned about it.
Have you ever had to correct a bad officer?
Yeah. Years ago, I hired in. There was an officer that he was kind of known in the North End for treating us bad. So, how do I handle that without being confrontational? I just made sure that every time I heard him go out on a call, I answered the call with him. You're gonna have to treat him right as long as I'm there.
On the camera there, like we've got a camera in our work vehicles now, outward and inward facing camera, and same thing there. Everybody didn't like them when we first got them. Everybody still don't like them, but there was behavior changes in everybody, even me. I started backing off the cars. I wasn't driving so close to cars so much. I'm better at my braking. I've slowed down a little bit. It changed some behavior knowing that camera was there monitoring me. Have you seen, since the body cams came in and you got the dash cams and everything, are there behavior changes amongst the officers?
Most, yeah. You get out on a call. Back when I first started, I also get out and talk to somebody like they didn't care. They're mindful of what you say now because it's being recorded, which to me keeps things tampered down. If the officer can't go out there and be a smart butt to somebody or the other person, it's less likely that there are going to be some problems.
Yeah, I look at it as an extra insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just don't know how people try to, on both sides, cop or person in the car, how they're being treated or what, may have happened. And, when it gets to court, it's just extra insurance policy.
And you guys are focused on body cams and dash cams. We would just say, just assume when you're getting out of your car, you're being videoed somewhere. There's a camera somewhere watching you.
Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
my camera in my job changed some of the things. I can't walk around the house naked anymore because there's a, I want. I'm scared somebody gonna hack the camera and be like, I'm on Pornhub.
God.
Hey, y'all should have saw the first time your little cousin found out where the ring doorbell was.
God.
Oh man, we gotta give Terry. I gotta show this one.
Yeah, I ain't never heard of that.
He said 45 years of driving, no tickets. you get a slow clap for that.
you must drive in circles in your parking lot.
I went on one trip. I got, and it was multiple states. I got a ticket in Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. All on one trip.
I don't think none of y'all got more tickets than I got, man. I got so many tickets. Somebody stole my ID and got tickets on my ID. I was like, man. I don't even know where Manassas County at in Virginia, but I done got
Charlie pulled me up on one a couple years ago.
Well, it's about time. Like, go ahead, close.
All right, man. We getting towards the end of the show, man. So we never want to just talk all negative, man. We always want to leave on a positive note, and we want to leave with solutions to anything we might have talked about today. So what we do, I'll start off, and then Jonathan, you can roll right behind me, and then Charlie, you'll be last there. Just solutions from me and things that I would like to see differently. I would just like to see more training, and then available. I would like to see, like I said earlier, the same training throughout all the police departments, getting the exact same training. And I know you said you got the program. I think it's TICO or something like that. But I think we need to add. I think they need to add more training to whatever's required. They need to add some more training to it, just to prevent that. And I think, like I said, I know the sheriff's department, man, and give my kudos to the sheriff's department there. I've listened to the sheriff and talked with Blas and a couple of his other partners several times there, and I know that they are doing the things that they're putting in place are above. You know what I mean? They're doing more than what they have to do, and that's to build on the relationships with the community. But I think other police departments need to figure that out also, how to build better with the communities, whatever that may take, feet walking in the neighborhoods, shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever it takes, so that to the person on the ground, their life matter, and to them, that the person on the ground, their life matter. I think we take those steps and hopefully have more conversations like we have today. I think we can better those relationships. I think the police department, and I'm gonna shut up here. I know I'm rambling on, but my son, about 2 years ago, I asked him about police, and he was terrified. And I hadn't talked to him recently here about the cops, but I know he was terrified. He had a true fear of all police officers, and I think this generation, the teenagers, the young people who've seen everything that's happened the last few years here, the police department have a lot of work to do to build those relationships, because we're not going to get black cops in if the kids are scared of them now. You know, it's going to be hard to get minorities in if the kids are feeling the way that they're feeling now. It's going to be hard to get those kids to be officers, which is bad for the community. So it's a lot of relationship building we need to do. I'm hoping to see more officers at more events and more things like that. Jonathan, go ahead.
I don't know. On the other aspect, my son loved the police. You
Yeah.
know, he loved the
It's
police.
age.
He go up to the police. He say hi to them, shake their hands. So you know, I agree with you about building relationships because I remember when I was younger, shoot, I probably still have a card from Charlie, but you know, I looked at the police as a superhero. You know, they was throwing us, you know, those baseball cards and stuff like that. So, you know, it was a different scenario. But I don't know, it just when I got older, you know, it was a different relationship with the police. But you know, most of the time I knew that most of the time if I was getting stopped, it was my situation. So I feel like the passengers, as long as you stay calm and admit to if you are in the wrong, admit to it and let it go. You know, be patient because that cop, most of the time, every cop I got pulled over, they've been pretty patient. I've had a couple of, you know, kind of crazies, but you know, I just, you know, be quiet, be calm, give them what they want, and I move on. So if the passenger stay patient and calm, then that officer is just going to do his job and move on. And that goes back to what cousin Charlie was saying. You know, try to do what you got to do to survive. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I still got that Charlie Porter baseball card too with your kneeling with the dog. I still got that one.
Yes, sir.
Gonna be
KD.
someday.
KD.
Two things, man. I'm constantly praying that my son don't become the new hashtag. Because it's happening. Stuff like that is happening. So I'm praying that my son none of my kids ever be a hashtag. Second thing, I think police and the community needs to make some type of amends. There needs to be some community and some police department somewhere that sets the litmus on what a healthy relationship looks like between police and community. There's a community in California that's pretty close because if there's somebody that's acting the fool in the neighborhood, the OGs will tell the police officers, nah, we got this one. You can go ahead and drive off. And the community will take care of that person. And likewise, when police come, a lot of times the communities get involved. But in my opinion, that community, that cohesiveness, that inclusion, somebody got to step across the line, whether it be police stepping into the communities or the community stepping into the police department. There needs to be something because I'd be darned if my son be a hashtag, my kids be a hashtag.
All right. Leo.
I think the biggest solution is a mix of all these. It's good. But I like what Dre put on there, transparency and accountability. But I think that should be on both sides of the house, like what Charlie said about the guy that he knew that was an issue on the force. So you showed up. Every time he had a call, you showed up with him on the call. You're gonna treat my people fairly and right. And that should be on the police officer side, but also in our neighborhoods. I mean, it should when there's a cop that is a bad cop, and a lot of times they know. You know what I mean? You know the people you work with. It shouldn't be held up to a point to where it's we all standing for this bad cop. It should, you know, you can politically do it where it's not like, you know, we're all standing up for, because when that cop goes down or whatever, it makes the whole force look bad. You know, because it's like, oh, y'all stood up for this guy. Y'all knew he was a racist. He had a Klan outfit in his locker at work, you know. So I don't think the force should stand up for that, but also the neighborhood. We should be the same way. If there's somebody who we knew in the neighborhood, this dude is a killer, you know what I mean, in the neighborhood, and he's known, he's Debo on the block, you know. And then something happens or something goes wrong with him, then there shouldn't be a ride for somebody who we know this dude done robbed a bank, and on the getaway ride he ended up shooting at the cops and end up getting shot. Then we shouldn't ride, or we shouldn't ride with something that's wrong on both ends. To me, I think it should be transparency and accountability from the hood. It's like, hey, we know this person was this on that side, but also on the police officer side. And I think it would bring neighborhoods together, because you are saying we have some faults and we're trying to fix that, and we understand what you're saying, but I don't think you have to drag that person on either end, in the hood or on the police officer side. I don't think you have to drag that person through the mud to say that, hey, this person did the wrong thing, and we understand that. But sometimes it feels like, or it looks like, on both ends, either end, it looks like or feel like we don't care what this person is wrong, this person did. We riding for them, we down for them, and it causes problems. So that's my end. I like the transparency and accountability on both ends.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you. As soon as somebody gets shot, it's like, it's a lot of folks who don't look at any evidence and they just react. And I think we as a community, we expect the cops to hold their people accountable and want them to do the right thing, like you're saying. That we have to do the same thing. Hey, if he was clearly doing something wrong, and the cops followed the protocol or whatever, we can't be at arms and upset and angry with that. We gotta hold our people like, oh no, now he was tripping. He shouldn't have did that. I can think of one instance last year when a kid was running from the cops and he was shooting back at the cops, and the cops gunned him down, and people putting his names on t-shirts and they're trying to say his name. It's like, no, what that kid did, what he did was wrong. It's sad that the tragedy of everything that happened, but the kid was wrong. The cops did what they were supposed to do. And I think if we're expecting, like Leo said, we're expecting the cops to do that, then we got to do the same thing. Go ahead there, Charlie. What you got?
I'll leave y'all with this. Everything y'all said collectively is true. And people need to understand that this is a two-way street as far as the police and the community. And it's going to take both of us to get to the desired goal. But I'll say there's a lot of good police officers out there. We only, every now and then we hear about some knucklehead that does something screwed up. But for the most part, in my 35 years, I've worked with a bunch of police officers, and most of them were good guys. They just wanted to do their job and go home. But I'll put it this way. The future is bright. With guys like y'all out there, the future is bright. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not just, it's bringing it to the platforms and talking like this. And I can't even tell you, I know I tried to reach out to some other cops, and they were like, oh, we got a social media policy and we can't talk. But in some kind of forum, those conversations need to be had, even if it's not on social media, privately or whatever. I think, like I said, we got to start the conversations, and we got to demand certain things. If you want to see something, don't wait till somebody gets shot to say, oh, I need to see that. Hey, go down, schedule a meeting with the chief, go down, schedule a meeting with the sheriff, and tell her like, hey, this is something I think, or try to get a different perspective, try to understand their perspective, and let them know your perspective. And that's the only way you're going to see some change. But we can't just wait until somebody gets shot, then make a bunch of demands and then get quiet because a new Chris Brown song came out and get quiet, and then wait till somebody else gets shot and then pull up some more noise. It's got to be a constant conversations, constant, like say, building those relationships to get that change to happen. There, we can't just wait till somebody get killed. Thank you all again. Thanks, cousin Charlie, for jumping on. Appreciate you coming on. Next time we get you on something a little bit more Relax, there, little. Hey, we appreciate everybody. All our other cousins in the comments, everybody else, all our other cousins watching, man. We appreciate you watching tonight. Hey, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share button, man. Share this thing, let people know about it. We're here every Thursday at 7:30, but we also got a lot of other content that we put on the page. So make sure you following us and getting all that content. Again, thank you. Hey, appreciate your help. Everybody have a great night and a great weekend. We'll see you next time here on the 3200.
3200, but you already know this. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Let's go. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 3200, let's go.